From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. A new law against armed gangs has come into force this week in Colombia. President Juan Manuel Santos said this new law is meant to bring down one of the country's major drug gangs, the Clan del Golfo. The new law allows the reduction of penalties for gang members who help the authorities in dismantling the organization, and according to Santos, it is another step towards completing peace in Colombia.
This law establishes a special procedure for organized armed groups to submit to justice. And this is very clear. It does not imply giving them political recognition or the application of mechanisms for transitional justice. With this law, we achieve security guarantees to continue strengthening the construction of peace. The fight against criminal organizations and those responsible for, as we have seen, homicides, massacres against human rights defenders, against social and political movements, we have to continue that fight.
But the killings of social leaders that Santos was talking about continue in a bloody wave of violence. Opposition leader Gustavo Petro has urged President-elect Iván Duque to sign an agreement to protect the lives of social leaders. At least 24 social leaders have been killed over the last month. According to local Colombian media, murder activist Ana María Cortés received threats from a phone belonging to the head of the local police before she was killed. Cortés was killed in Antioquia in early July. More than 100 social leaders have been assassinated so far in 2018, and around 400 since the signing of the peace agreement. And new alleged links between former Colombian President and Senator Álvaro Uribe and paramilitary groups have been disclosed. According to the National Security Archive Research Center, Uribe and his brother Santiago maintain an alleged close and friendly relationship with the leader of the paramilitary group, the 12 Apostles. Several former employees of Uribe's farm, La Carolina, said the farm was a base of operations for the group back in the 1990s. Still in Colombia, President-elect Iván Duque has confirmed he wants to permanently withdraw from the Union of South American Nations, or UNASUR. Duque also said he will not send an ambassador to Caracas upon assuming the presidency, claiming not to recognize the Venezuelan government. The Colombian president-elect said UNASUR has been used to justify Nicolás Maduro's government and encourage other countries also to leave the regional body. At least 4 people have died during the anti-government protests that took over the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince as a result of an unannounced increase of fuel prices. Protesters have clashed with the Special Police Crowd Control Unit, who fired their guns into the air and detonated tear gas. Local radio reported that groups of armed people in civilian clothes have been seen in some downtown districts. Haitians are now demanding the immediate resignation of President Jovenel Moïse. But people also tried to return to normality as the general strike unfolded in different parts of the capital. Many fruit and vegetable merchants returned to their spots on sidewalks. Motorcycle taxis were back at their usual intersections, and lines continue to form at one of the few open gas stations in the Pétionville neighborhood of Port-au-Prince. Some flights were restarted too, with 3 aircrafts landing from the United States after all airlines canceled services on Saturday. Residents in the Nicaraguan town of Diaramba have been criticizing what they say is complicity between the church and violent opposition groups. A crowd tried to enter the San Sebastián Basilica in Diaramba on Monday to demand that the local priest hand over the church, which they say has been used as a refuge for the armed groups. For their part, members of the clergy said their team of mediators had been attacked by paramilitaries and that a church in nearby Jinotepa had also been desecrated.
We ask our God to give us all peace so that we can rebuild our country, a country where we love and respect each other. I give my blessing to all.
Government supporters welcomed what they called the liberation of the Aramba. According to the Sandinista forces and the residents of the city, the town had been taken over by vandals and criminals who have now been driven out.
Those who came to liberate us were part of the Sandinista government, and that is why we are happy, grateful. We appreciate everything they did because since yesterday we have been living in peace. Before we couldn't leave our homes.
We have identified the people in charge of the barricades, with all of their weapons. They are vandals, criminals, deportees from the United States, drug traffickers.
Now to Brazil, where the Workers' Party has urged the country's judicial system to release former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva from jail. Supporters of Lula and members of the Workers' Party, including former President Dilma Rousseff, gathered in Sao Paulo to call for his freedom. Outside the party headquarters, and after a weekend of court battles over Lula's imprisonment, they called for an end to what they believe is a political persecution against the former president. And once again, confirmed Lula is the Workers' Party candidate for the upcoming elections in October.
We, the Workers' Party, because of the commitment we have had with the Brazilian people for almost 40 years, we are not going to abandon Lula's candidacy. We will be registering Lula on August 15th as candidate in Brasilia with a big popular demonstration.
I keep saying we do not have plan B or X or Y or Z. My stance is even a little tougher. I do not think we need to scrounge a replacement. In my opinion, we have only one candidate, Lula.
We'll take a short break now, but join us after a video from our multimedia team.
The Israeli army kill our children.
Said how exciting.
Welcome back. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is expected to meet with businessmen and representatives of different economic sectors in Turkey later on Tuesday. The meeting is aimed to strengthen economic cooperation between the two countries. Maduro went to Turkey to attend Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's sworn-in ceremony. The Ottoman country is a key ally for the South American nation to develop cooperation in trade, technology, and other productive sectors. Mexico's President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador is emphasizing the importance of job opportunities to help young people improve the economy ahead of his first term.
In a meeting with representatives of the Confederation of Industrial Chambers, COCAMIN, Andrés Manuel López Obrador presented his economic plan that includes better jobs for young people. He says this will ease problems like migration and security.
We want to help young people study and work. We will do it together with CONCAMIN. We will develop tutors in order to hire young people.
He also explained his energy plan, emphasizing that it isn't just limited to raising gasoline prices.
Within 3 years, we will lower the prices of gas. We will renovate 6 refineries and build another one in order to stop buying gasoline from abroad.
According to one expert, lowering gasoline prices is possible and necessary. He says that Mexican refineries have been abandoned.
According to workers of the refineries, we believe they were working in bad conditions. They stopped operating due to the necessity of increasing U.S. imports.
After the presidential election, citizens' initiatives have also emerged. The electoral triumph of López Obrador has enabled the freedom to do so, which is being celebrated.
We will democratically recover the streets of the city, and we will celebrate by debating, with discussion and gifting books.
Jobs, energy, and culture are some of the topics on the agenda for the future government. Andrés Manuel López Obrador will take office on December 1st.
Panama and China have opened the first round of negotiations to achieve a free trade agreement. These negotiations started on Monday in Panama City and will be held until Friday. The Central American country wants to become a gateway for Chinese products and investments in the region. Panamanian public and private sectors will also participate in these negotiations. Social movements, political parties, and unions demonstrated in the center of Buenos Aires to reject the current economic policy implemented by the government of Mauricio Macri in Argentina.
With the light blue and white flag raised, the Argentinian people demonstrated to commemorate the day of its independence under the slogan, "The homeland does not surrender."
It is a new demonstration to represent that the Argentinian people will not kneel before the International Monetary Fund. The homeland does not surrender. It has to do with the struggle of those who gave their lives to make this country independent.
To the beat of the drums, song and dance, a crowd participated in the massive protest that overwhelmed the street of Buenos Aires and then moved to a stage located on July 9th Avenue.
We're here to say no to the International Monetary Fund, which takes away their sovereignty and impoverishes Argentinians.
There are thousands and thousands of workers and pensioners questioning this government, and I think that these measures and protests will increase because the government continues to govern for those who have instead of those who have not.
With this demonstration, the widespread rejection of the agreement signed with the International Monetary Fund is clear. It also clearly shows public objection to increasing repression against anti-government protests, workers, human rights organizations, and even former soldiers of the Malvinas took part in the demonstration. They additionally denounced the economic policies of Macri's government in a letter.
There is a need for hope. Nobody can live without hope that the bad can be reversed. And this is a way for some sort of social front of what is expressed in this call.
The national government is implementing brutal upheaval to society, hand in hand with the economic adjustments via the International Monetary Fund. The Argentinian people have once again shown that they are not prepared to just let this happen. They will continue to fight in defense of their rights and their dignity.
Elections took place in El Salvador to choose 2 veterans of the armed forces and 2 former combatants to ensure that the former FMLN combatants are benefited by social programs.
The election of 4 members that will make up the Administrative Commission of the Benefit Law and Social Benefits for military veterans and former combatants of the AFMLN was carried out for the first time with the participation of about 82,000 members.
When it was elected for the first time, it was to representatives of veterans organizations, and it was decided by 20 people at most. Not today, because now the entire nation is the one to decide its representatives in the Commission, because they are the ones who will make the efforts for our benefit.
27 years after the peace agreement was signed for a civil war that lasted 12 years and left more than 75,000 dead, former combatants came together to guarantee the fulfillment of social programs that benefit them.
It's a compromise between both sectors that were at war before, but now laws has been created by this government so that we all can have at least some minimum benefits, the right to a basic pension, the right to health.
These elections are held on a national level. Around 50,000 veterans from the armed forces and 32,000 of the FMLN vote. The nation's budget for 2018 is just over $16 million, aimed at pensions, scholarships, projects of housing and land transfers.
I don't even have a house to live in, and that is one of the things I want to fight for, to at least have decent housing.
The electoral process was supervised by several state institutions, including the Ministries of Defense, Finance, Education and Health, who will administer the process through the National Electoral Board.
People gather outside Ecuador's presidential palace to demand answers from the government of President Lenín Moreno regarding the disappearance of a woman and her daughter 17 days ago. Relatives of María José Ponce Vargas and her 4-year-old daughter reported the disappearances on June 23rd. Authorities have only said they are investigating the case and are following protocols. They added that information on the case will be released in due course. We have 2 great matches coming up. So as the current tournament is coming to an end, we will see the 1998 World Cup champions France playing against Belgium. And on Friday, Croatia will face England. Now to an interesting story. 6 LGBTI activists found a way to display the pride flag at the World Cup in Russia by wearing football jerseys with the colors of the rainbow flag. Each of the activists wore the t-shirts of their national team and stood next to one another to represent the pride flag. The project, called The Hidden Flag, used the jerseys of Spain, the Netherlands, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina and Colombia. A law has banned gay propaganda in Russia since 2013. We'll take one last short break, but join us after another video from our multimedia team. Welcome back. Great news coming in from Thailand, where all 12 boys and their football coach have been safely rescued from the Tam Luang cave. They have all been transferred to a hospital in Chiang Rai and are reported to be in good health. The country has been on a standstill since they were found alive inside the cave system 9 days after they went missing on June 23rd. Over 100 divers were involved in the rescue operation. We now go outside the cave in Thailand, where the rescuers have just successfully concluded this operation. We are joined by journalist Nicolas Bertrand, who has been covering the rescue operation. Hello, Nicolas, can you tell us what the mood is like over there now that all the boys are out?
Yes, hello. Here it's all about happiness right now and relief, of course. I could see just a minute ago people cheering in the streets here on Chiang Rai when the ambulances were coming from the cave to the hospital, and I can say that it was quite emotional for everybody here. These kids are so young. The whole country was really, really anxious, and now it's time to celebrate. All of them are free and safe, as you said, including the coach. Yes, happiness is the right word today.
And they're all out now in going to hospitals being treated. How is their health? Is there anyone that has any complications?
No, actually they are quite fine as far as I know. It's much better than expected, and the doctors are very, very confident. No one has fever, for example. Of course, they are weak, really, really weak, but they don't have any specific pathology. And I can tell you that they are starving. They are asking for food, specifically for meat, but it's a good sign. The 12 boys will have to stay now, let's say, a week at least at the hospital, but after they will be able to go back to their family.
And how would you describe this rescue operation? We've seen it throughout media, how miraculous it seemed to have all these people going inside the cave, risking their lives for these kids.
Yeah, it was a very, very tricky rescue operation. You know, the cave has been flooded partially. The oxygen level was very, very low as well, but finally we can say that everything went well and smoothly. The rescue team did an amazing job, and today both foreign and Thai team are done with the job, and everything went well.
Thank you very much, Nicolas, for your time. We are speaking to Nicolas Bertrand, a journalist that is covering the kids being rescued from the cave. Now to another story. 2 Reuters journalists in Myanmar have been charged with stealing state secrets. Here's more on that and other big stories from around the world.
A court in Myanmar has charged 2 Reuters journalists with breaking the colonial-era Official Secrets Act, which carries a maximum penalty of 14 years in prison. The journalists were arrested last year as they investigated the killing of Rohingya men in Myanmar. Their case will now head to trial after 6 months of preliminary hearings. This ruling has come as a shock to supporters of press freedom from around the world. The 2 journalists have pleaded not guilty.
We didn't commit any crime. What I would like to say in relation to the court's decision today is that we will not give up. Even though we are charged, we haven't been proven guilty. We have an opportunity to defend ourselves.
Deadly floods in Japan have raised the death toll to over 150, with dozens still missing. This is the worst flood in over 3 decades in the country. Last week, unprecedented torrential rain led to floods and landslides in western and central Japan, leaving more than 200,000 people without drinking water under scorching temperatures. German Interior Minister Horst Seehofer has presented his migration master plan, which is a series of measures to control and limit immigration into the country. The plan also includes returning immigrants to their entry country in the European Union. Seehofer's view on immigration became a major point of dispute with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and ended with Merkel compromising to save her coalition government from falling apart.
U.S. President Donald Trump has nominated conservative Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. Experts say this decision will make the Supreme Court conservative presence heavier, with momentous implications for society. 53-year-old Kavanaugh is a Yale University graduate and has demonstrated his conservative credentials on numerous occasions, including when he opposed Obamacare, a health insurance unveiled under former President Barack Obama.
Tonight,
Suchet Cafe, a first-of-its-kind coffee shop staffed by people with Down syndrome in Damascus, Syria, is proving to be a runaway success. The cafe opened to mark the Al-Cham Gathers U.S. Festival as a way to shed light on the illness so that people don't suffer in silence and become marginalized. The cafe's aim is to give sufferers of the disorder a chance to train, work, and become reintegrated members of society. And with that story, we come to the end of this news brief. But as you know, there's another stories you can find on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And you can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.